Calling you radical. I'm going to redo this because last night the visuals just aren't good enough. So the history of baseball in Ogden, Utah goes back. Well, my work shows 1899. I believe the Lobsters got here in 1899. They played us, but we'll go along with their 1900, their 2 seasons. Now, why they called the Ogden Lobsters? When they got here to the great Junction City, anybody who ever came here had to come right through. The Chicago Bridge and Iron used to be right there. Fucking anybody that had to come here, the great rail yard of Ogden, Utah, north, east, west, south, all met here. That's why all these fortunes blew up and grew up here. The banking fortune of Browning Eccles, which the first security banking giant fortune. The incredible, still rules this town, the Browning Arms, freaking the BAR, World War I, World War II, freaking sold. Well, and by the way, they sold to both sides. Do not go to Austria and start talking. Black Hand, here, it came here. So when the Ogden Lobsters first got here, they'd come by train like everybody used to come to train until the post-war, the Operation Paperclip tore out all the streetcars. Ogden was chock full of streetcars. By the way, the population of Ogden is half of what it was when I was a kid. This incredible boomtown, we used to call it Salt Lake was Manhattan. We're Brooklyn. And I mean, Salt Lake never had anything on us. Still doesn't. So when they got here, I mean, we're nearly 5,000 feet. We're at, right where I'm standing, we're at 4,500. And it's high altitude. The sun shines here all day. We're in the fucking upper fucking desert with this incredible mountain range right here. It'll roast your trust me. I own Blanch for all those fucking years. I grew up on a fucking big fucking produce farm. Fucking picking that fuck. I know heat. Like, oh boy, do I know heat. This fucking. When they got here, they would roast. I mean, they'd turn red. And so back when we had a media, I mean, and if you're still waiting for the Standard Examiner to tell you anything, or the Tribune, or there's keep dreaming. They're pitiful. Their sports writers are a joke. Literally a fucking joke. You're still, waiting for a college professor to teach you something? I'm an ex-college professor. I burned my fucking credentials in protest. So they got here, as sports writers says, look at them, they're fucking bright red. So he named them the Lobsters. So let's talk about this. Is important, historic, because this historic, incredible fucking city that's been looted and fucking gutted. Now this is the perfect name, right, for this town, the Ogden Gunners, because what rules this town to this day is the Browning Arms fortune to this day. And they never did go public. They keep it. Why do you think they all made them at Lee National? When when FDR gives that famous speech, they'll be no war profiteering in World War II like there was World War I. Well, he's going right at the Brownings. He's pointing right at Mariner Eccles, who was the secretary. He ran the Fed then. Before it was First Security, it was Browning Eccles. Everybody says, well, how did Marin pull all that off? Getting off. Well, I just told you. 1917, and that's why they named it the Gunners. It was invented right there with the Ben. What they did to the Ben Lomond is disgraceful. Campbell Eccles. By the way, Campbell Eccles fucking cars for sale. He ran it. That place was so grand, they fucking ruined it. What haven't they ruined in this city? So, that's all you hear here. You try to find some quiet time to do everything, but that's Ogden, right? So, Black Hand, when they killed the king, used a Browning gun, but it's been well documented. They sold to both sides. The BAR was invented right here, and that fortune is, it's giant to this day. It's like the Bank of Utah plane shows up on the tarmac in Tehran. The front page of the New York Times goes psycho. We can't figure it out. We can't figure it out. Well, who owns the Bank of Utah? The Browning. So Hines just died, and he was the assistant to the accountant that did the Browning checks. Everything. Now, I hung around with one of the Browning girls when I was young. We had that conversation about, that girl was out of control. Oh, like Ogden, the great Freudian city. So good looking, so wild, so beautiful, so incredible. And then they go through their stages. And so the checks, when they go out through the Browning heirs to this day, the fortune is giant. So the plane shows up on the tarmac at Tehran, which is against the law for a commercial American flight to be in Iran. It's been against the law for decades. Everybody, and New York Times front page, having a fit. So I emailed New York Times and says, you do know who owns the Bank of Utah to this day. You got it, the Browning Arms family. Ooh. The greatest war profiteers in fucking history? Bar none. Bar none. And they sold to both sides. Do not kid yourself. That's documented proof. Go to Vienna and mention it. They call Ogden blood. It's invented here. Fortune. So it's the perfect name, right? Who's more important? So in the outfield, they'll show you this. There's a building. That was Matt Browning's car collection. When he died in 87, I used to do his restoration work. I did all the restoration in this town for years from the time I was 16 years old. So the Gunners, they played on 28th Street. 28th right below Washington. There used to be these billboards and these poles they always said, and I could never figure out what they were. You know, and there was this billboard, and finally it took me a long time, and I talked to some old guy, and he says, that's the old outfield of the old baseball. Really? They're still there? Now, I think I have a video somewhere. Recently, it's been torn down. It was on 28th, right? You know, that's a fucking funky-ass cool piece of real estate right there, because Utah Bottling Works right there. Fuck, how dynamic and important was that place? Oh, fuck. I got so many stories about that historically. So, the Gunners, that's where they played. Ernie Lombardi played for the Ogden Gunners. One of the most famous players in Major League history. The World Series where the ball hit him in the groin. And, you know, he went down. That's him. He played here. He played over on 28th Street. So, 1900 to 28. The Lobsters, 1, 2, maybe 3 years. It's debatable. I still say they came in 1899, but whatever. So, the Canners. Now, perfect, right? Here for 3 years because we grew up. Del Monte's right there. The big tower that you go around, you can see it right there. See the tower over the viaduct out by the freeway? That's Del Monte, that red brick masterpiece. The tomato, well, it was the ketchup tomato capital of the world at one point when I was a kid. Everybody out west, because this is the high altitude, the higher the altitude, the hotter the sun, the sweeter the tomatoes. Everybody, like out where I live, the Rapalatos, the Costessos, the DiGiorgios, everybody thinks they're Italiano. For the most part, they're Austrian. And anyway, that's how they got here. On this side of the tracks out West Weber is all Austrians, Italians. On the other side's Northern Europeans for the most part, you know. And so that's where I grew up. And how did they get here? They came via the mines through Superior, Wyoming, but then Del Monte would run ads up there. We'll give you some land. And they became row croppers. They were sharecroppers in the modern day. Tomatoes, 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 tomatoes. I grew up picking. Fuck, you ever eaten a fucking Utah tomato? Oh, fresh off the vine. It's like heaven. Same with our peaches. And so canneries grew up giant here. Canneries were the shit here. So the famous Mormon cannery is right here on down the road. And I remember when Reagan came here. He was headed to tomato days, you know, out in Hooper, but he went to visit the cannery. I lived on Grant. And, you know, I was a fucking young dude. Look, had really cute girlfriend I was living with. And I was all, oh my God, Ogden was, fuck. The females here in this town, I go back and forth from San Diego. I say, San Diego got nothing on Ogden, Utah. I mean, the beautiful of the beautiful lived here. The sexy of the sexy. This is the most sexy, beautiful place in the world. I'm telling you. Whoa. And so, I've been right across the street. Jay used to own Golden Beverage, which was the core district. And he had a van. Remember, he had the dogs that went on Jay Leno and he could train them to do anything? Well, I was really good friends with Jay. He lived across the street. In his van, it had taps on the side of the van. Say, Kev, I always have extra beer in that tap. You know, when I come off these promotions I do, have all you want. And so I walked across the street, fill up my, fuck. So they come to visit, of all places. I mean, they came on a Saturday evening, you know, and to check if I had any guns. Well, everybody in Ogden had a gun, but they had them as collectors, as, you know, because everybody had these beautiful made in Lee National. All the Browning guns are not made here. There's a reason why. I just told you why. It was against the law, war profiteers. So they made it Lee National. It goes all the way back to Napoleon. Still are. And so, of course, we had these beautiful Browning shotguns and rifles that were pieces of art. Now they promote the state gun as a AR, as a weapon of mass destruction. Who the guy who invented that weapon in Poland called it the weapon of mass destruction. The $10, assault rifle. Browning guns were pieces of art. I mean, they were masterpieces. I mean, the engraving on it. So yeah, I got guns. So they checked and they went through it. I'm wasted. It was the Secret Service. The Secret Service interviewed everybody along the route. So Reagan goes out tomato days, and some hillbilly gets on his roof, claims he wanted to look through the scope. I mean, he's a long ways away, but Secret Service took his ass down. I mean, it's irony because what happened to Trump, I mean, they were all over it. And that was clear back in the early 80s. So we were famous. And all the women worked in the fall time at the canneries, like my grandma. God, she always had nice cars, nice this, everything, blah, blah, blah. And everybody give her shit about it. She's, no, that's my cannery money. I'm like, my grandpa would wink, because those women would work in those canneries in the fall for a few weeks. And my grandpa used to laugh and say, God, she makes a lot of money. I mean, she must make $100 an hour. He'd say, laugh. And so, no, that's my canning money. She'd say they'd all work out there. They were fantastic women, by the way. Oh, my God, could they cook. So, and my dad was a famous farmer. My dad was an organic farmer before. Everybody called him Digger. What an athlete. What a baseball player. Oh, fuck, what a baseball player. Claude's my uncle, probably one of the greatest athletes in the history of the city, bar none. He just passed away. Look him up, Claude Blanch. Of course, Harold. I mean, I think Claude still holds several fucking state records in the state for all kinds of, track, football, baseball. I mean, he was a 5-letter guy at, Brand X, BYU. But, so the canners, it's perfect. So this is important. I've been working on getting this for a long time. Me and the city manager have been talking about this for a long time. I wanted them on the wall out there. Now, this is important because Dave Baggett and John Lindquist do not own this field. They do not. They own the Ogden Rappers, yeah. Ogden City owns this field. So the canners, they moved from 28th Street over to Lauren Farr Park, which is so irony because The Sandlot was filmed there. I remember my little girl was in a lot of movies. My one that's the fashion designer in Italy. So I remember she auditioned for that movie because they were looking for extras when she was little. She got called on them all. But then we'll get back to that with the Dodgers. And so the Ogden Reds, they moved to Lauren Farr Park. That's where the stadium was. By the way, we have the Ogden Stadium. They're the most underutilized building on the planet. 6 days a week for the rodeo. Yeah, and we're just named it Spencer Eccles, which Spencer Eccles made all his fucking money here, and he's not Mariner's son. He's his nephew, and he's Ogden. Born and raised in Ogden, Ogden High, fucking, he's got the fortune, he's got the keys, and, he's old, so he's naming everything after himself. Well, Ogden Stadium, he just named whatever. They use it 6 days. When I was a kid, I played football there. We used it. I have a program I got to dig out from, I believe, 1960, 61, the Oakland Raiders versus the San Francisco 49ers preseason football. And my buddy was telling me the other day, he says, the Lions would play preseason games at Ogden Stadium. So, and these kids, like my grandkids, they play in club teams. These kids in Ogden, Utah do not play football. They don't play basketball. They don't play baseball anymore. What cured, and we had a serious gang problem here 10, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, bad. Not anymore. What cleaned it up? Soccer. They're soccer mad. I mean, they're athletes. They're unbelievable. They're playing home games as far as Lehigh. There's nowhere to play, and there's all kinds of open space here. Here's Ogden Stadium. This place is empty constantly. And again, Lindquist and Baggett do not own this. Ogden City owns this. So the Reds, the incredible Frank Robinson, who refuses to come back here because of a racial slur right over there. Now, this side right above here, I'll show you, was Electric Alley. I was friends with Annabelle Wakely. She was the last madam. So Ogden was completely 100% dominated by prostitution for well over 100 years. All of 25th Street, most of Washington Boulevard, all of it was prostitution. The city was corrupt as fuck, really corrupt. Well, it still is. And so I got so many good stories because I worked for George Pappas when I was a kid. I started plastering when I was young, 16. So I did all the restoration up and down those buildings in this 1977, 78, 79. So I worked on them all, every building over there. You know, because he owned it all. Him and his dad and Al Capone were business partners. That's true. That story where they stood right on that corner and did that interview. Why don't you move to Ogden? Ogden's way too rough for me. That's Al Capone. That's a true story. So go ask George. He's still alive. He's 94. So I did all the restoration on all these buildings because it was on the National Registry then. It has to be authentic. And I owned Blanch Plaster, and I was the only one that knew how to do any of it. Still do, but you know, cancer took me out. So they played at the Ogden Stadium. Now, there was a monkey pit right over there when I was still a kid. So that famous picture you see with the elephants right on the corner up here by the Toon Hotel on 25th and Washington, parading, that's Coin Harvey's circus. Coin Harvey, the famous circus, was right there at Ogden Stadium. He had elephants, he had tigers, he had everything. And, of course, Lauren Farr swimming pool's been there for a long, long time. By the way, Lauren Farr Park, the authentic, beautiful building, these same creeps that fucking did some of the, I mean, not the brick on this. Oh, don't even get me going. This same area this was built, this fake stucco freaks went in there, and I don't know how they pulled that off because I bid it. I was supposed to do it. They put lick and stick, fake rock on it, fake stucco, and I keep telling them, it's so beautiful. Let me scrape it off and clean it. And I still can. I'll get my grandsons to help me. You know, we need to take it back. So that's where they played. The park was there where Ogden Stadium is. The Ogden Reds, Frank Robinson. So Frank Robinson, on this side of the street, Electric Alley, was African-American. On that side of the street over there, more white. So this restaurateur over here, Frank would, you know, was friends with him. You know, he was in there eating one day, and the restaurant owner liked him, was friends with him. And some redneck pieces of shit called him the N-word. So he was pissed, you know, and you know, he could have beat the fuck out of all of them and fucking, you know, 10 of them. I mean, the beast that he was. You know, he's like the Jackie Robinson of Ogden. And he went to the owner. And the owner wouldn't do anything about it. And so we've tried to get him to come back and do something, and he won't. He refuses because he's that. I won't fucking you blame him. So I knew Annabelle. She was killed going to Wendover gambling not that long ago. So she was the last madam. So Electric Alley was right here. When I was a kid, the glass cages like Amsterdam were still there. And the prostitutes were in the windows right there where the Marriott Hotel is right there. I'll show you. And so that's where they played. Frank Robinson. And Plain City had 5, 6, 7 out west professional baseball players in the Red organization who all made it to the majors. Of course, Burt Cook. Oh, God, what an ass. Fucking, I mean, don't even get me going on that guy. Of course, Singleton, great guy. And, of course, Blair, he ran the youth league out there that I played for. What a fantastic guy. We love that dude, you know. I mean, his offspring, not so fucking much. So the Ogden Reds were an institution. So our father's generation were hardcore fucking Reds fans. Frank Robinson goes to the Reds and gets traded to the Orioles. I'm an Orioles fan. And so the Pioneer League. So in 1970, I'm 10 years old. I'm a baseball nut, and I love the fucking Orioles. I mean, I'm an Orioles guy. Who wouldn't? Earl Weaver. Love that fucking dude. And so the Robinsons, and so they beat the Reds. My dad was so fucking pissed. Oh, he threw me out of the house 2 or 3 times during that season. Kicked me out, and I had to go stay with my grandma. He was so pissed. Dave McNally, who's from Billings, Montana, you know, that's the Pioneer League, who's passed away, still the only pitcher to ever hit a grand slam in a World Series. So the Reds over there at Lauren Farr Park, I'll talk about this. So the pool where Sandlot was filmed, it's been there forever. You know, and so I'm over there with my grandkids recently. I have their Lauren Farr cards in my wallet. All my grandkids, I would take one. That's where I was teaching them how to swim just a few years ago. We'd go over there and those cottonwoods blowing in there. You know, it's a famous pool. And there's a guy I know who I'm friends with, Rents, and we're we're talking about the Dodgers. He says, you know, Kev, I used to be a ball boy. I says, I remember when you were the ball boy over there. I got to tell you this story. And this is at Lauren Farr Park, which the Sandlot was filmed where they used to play. We're sitting there watching the grandkids, you know, visiting, having a beer. And, yeah, you could bring your own beer and then you got to sneak it in, but that's what everybody does. And you watch the grandkids learn how to swim. It's a great fucking place. It's a historic fucking place. And Ogden City owns that, by the way, too. He says, when they won the World Series in 1968, Lasorda, and by the way, I used to sit down there by there, walk down. Lasorda had a worse mouth than me. He said fuck more than I did. I loved that fucking guy. Across the street from John Affleck, where they played over there, they moved over there. They built the great John Affleck, and I'll talk about John Affleck himself and how that played out. So, across the street where Moore's is was called It's a Hit. That was the place. But anyway, he's like, when they won in 1968, I was a ball boy, and he drove that big, brand new, beautiful Cadillac, Tommy Lasorda, and he said, when they won it, he says, now you go out and get in the trunk of my car. Here's the keys. Him and, you know, the ball boys. There are 23 bottles of champagne in that trunk. Now, did you hear me? I didn't say 24. I didn't say 22. I said 23. Not 24. 20, and I don't want you bringing in 22, and I don't want you bringing in 24. You understand me? You bring in 23. Full well knew that they had 24, so those kids could, you know, celebrate too. Fuck, it was Ogden. Like, what a great fucking story. So, the Dodgers were Double-A baseball, and Lasorda was the manager. Bobby Valentine played here. Charlie Huff fucking played for the Dodgers. Steve Garvey held the record for the most home runs ever hit since 1900 or 1899 in the history until last year. Reese Alexianis, who's playing for the Savannah Bananas, broke it. 22. Steve Garvey played here. So did Bobby Valentine. Oh, what a fucking player. And Ron Say, Davey Lopes, all of these fucking Russell, all these fucking great Dodgers that went on to be that great powerhouse team, their roots were Ogden. I mean, they double jump from Double-A right to the majors. We got to watch them all fucking grow up and play. Here's a great story. So the Salt Lake Gulls were Triple-A in Salt Lake. Don Zimmer would manage the Salt Lake Gulls. They were Pacific Coast League. And Lasorda would manage the Ogden Dodgers. They used to play, because they're in the different leagues. They were Triple-A, the Dodgers were Double-A, and they were completely different leagues. Pioneer League and the Pacific Coast League. They would play a 4th of July 3-game series here in Ogden. So you had Don Zimmer managing against Tommy Lasorda. Lasorda was the fucking best, man. We loved him. I mean, we still do. When the Dodgers won it here in 88, this is a great story, because Glenn Hubbard grew up right there, right over the Viaduct. So I was really close friends with the Hubbard's family. Steve was like my best friend when I was young. The great, great football player that he was, who died young. His heart blew up. And out of nowhere, it was a birth defect. And anyway, fuck, what an athlete. So Glenn, of course, played for Ben Lomond High School. What a fucking player. Oh, my God. You know, Lanzarota takes credit for him. Well, Lanzarota, who was here, takes credit for Tony Gwynn, too. You know, the great baseball scouts, the great baseball city here in Ogden. So, in 1988, the Dodgers, this town is Dodger mad, because we all grew up with fucking Lasorda. So, we got a big party. You know, we're having a juice party. Everybody's got their A's stuff, because Glenn Hubbard got traded from the Braves to the A's. And I hated that pretty fucking Eckersley. I couldn't stand that fucker. You know, and I was still a Dodgers fan there. And Kirk Gibson, of course, tore his fucking quad, his hamstring. He wasn't going to play, the great athlete that he was. So in the Dodgers, I was driving back and forth to San Diego, which I always did my whole life. I spent so much time at Jack Murphy. Early in the year, I believe the Dodgers opened in 88 in San Diego. Remember that game because John Kruk hit a 2-run homer and they beat him 5-3. On the way down, they were 30-1 on the futures line. We stopped in Vegas and I put $100 on it. I mean, $100 was a lot of money in 1980. You know, fuck, they had no chance. That roster, you know, there were a bunch of has-beens. Sachs and Dempsey from the Orioles, but they had a guy named Oral Hershiser who was, we'll talk about one of the greatest fucking players in baseball history. Probably one of the greatest hitting pitchers in fucking history. You know, and he just got hot at the end. So game one, of course, we're having the big party. Everybody's rooting for the A's because Glenn's playing for the A's. So when he hits the home run, I jumped up and screamed. Fuck, the Hubbard clan still wants to kick my ass to this day. Fuck. So let's walk over and then we'll come back. Well, Corey Seager. So, are the greatest player in Ogden Dodgers history? Is it Frank Robinson? Is it Ricky Henderson? Or is it Corey Seager? I think it's Corey Seager. I've autographed a hat in baseball in 2012. I was full of cancer then, coming out of the bone marrow transplant center. He won the MVP in both leagues. Frank Robinson, greatest player in Ogden history. Ricky Henderson. Yeah, he played here. And no, I think it's Corey Seager. But anyway, so Bollinger played here. So let's get on with this. So out of nowhere, they just bolt. Now, who owned John Affleck? It was named John Affleck. John Affleck Park. This is the sham that was everybody pissed because the Eccles family, Oregon Timber, which Anderson Lumber, that's where the building was. He left it in his will to stay at Park and gave it to the city of Ogden forever. They manipulated that and fucking pulled a okey finoki on us. They move in the fucking middle of the night, don't even tell anybody. People were fucking livid. So Dar Belknap, not Dutch, and his club out to the spot, which was a flop. It didn't even make it a season, I don't think. Great name, the Golden Spikers. I mean, great fucking name. He was a catcher here, Kenley Jensen. So, anyway, didn't happen. So we went naked without baseball from 1975 to 1979. But we get that fucking ace. Double A ace come in, we're all fired up. Dave Stewart played here. Ricky Henderson. That was the last of John Affleck. 2 years. Henderson played that 79 season. Fuck. I mean, that's one of the top 10 greatest baseball players in the history of baseball. Well, I think Seager's going to end up being one of them. Fucking that leadoff home run, first pitch. They'll never touch those records. Yeah, he played here. So, fuck, I used to watch him play. Dollar fucking beer. So, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we protested and they tore down John Affleck. Now, John Affleck left it in his will that stays at Park forever. How'd they manipulate that? Well, they just, remember the two locomotive park where Westland Ford is now? There's two giant trains there was locomotive. Oh, we'll trade. That's now John Affleck Park. And then they wanted that to put a car dealership there. So this is the corruption of fucking Ogden. And Ogden is fucking corrupt. I'll talk about that. Really, always has been. And so then they wanted that, so they moved it over there to 30th and where the old Washington Junior High was, back that park right there. That's John. What? So we were fucking pissed. People in this town were going crazy against these oligarchs. They wanted their fucking ass. They knew who did it. Fucking it. I mean, baseball time gone. So we went naked without baseball from 1980 clear to 1994. So in the mix, in this time between 80 and 94, the city's working hard. Now, a lot of the whole country and the whole world wants a baseball, urban park, including Salt Lake. Well, fuck, the economics of it, forget about it. You're talking billions of dollars to tear down an entire city block? Fuck, we have one. This fucking park is grand. Ogden City, I was on doing this, which it's another story. You know, we finally got it through. It took tax revenue fucking out. The taxpayers built this. The taxpayers still own this. And it's so fucking grotesquely underutilized, it's pathetic. So the Raptors, they see the writing on the wall. There's going to be professional baseball in Ogden. Now, they're working with all kinds of different affiliations to get minor league baseball back in here. The Mucks are still around here. You know, Lanzarota and crew. So they're working hard to get it. Well, the Raptors see the writing on the wall. They were in Vegas. The Trappers, they come to Salt Lake. They were the Salt Lake Trappers in Salt Lake. And then that falling out they had with Larry Miller. Fucking, I don't know what that was all about. So they go out there to West Ogden, which we used to call the Mexican Leagues. I played out there in the keg leagues. Because the coaches were all fucking racist here in high school. Big time racist. And so they would kick, I mean, I sat with Rick Garcia right here fucking at the games. Fuck, what a fucking player. There's about 30 fucking guys from Ogden I know that should have played in the majors, and most of them are Mexican. But the major leagues was racist. The high schools were racist. So we played out there. We called it, and it was hardball, and it was fucking incredible baseball. I mean, I remember Bob Chambers, Tom's brother, who's a great, great pitcher for the A's. He, because I played against him when I was young, and we're up at Ben Lomond High on a Sunday playing baseball, fucking around, drinking with our girlfriends. We're 18, 19. I mean, fuck, what a fucking place. And so we're up there, and he's up there all fucking showing up like he's a badass. And, I'm this long-haired, drunken fucking heathen kid. And so he's like, oh, fucking bet anybody $100 that can hit me. I'm like, okay. I didn't have no fucking $100, so I bluffed him. I knew I could hit the fucker. And he threw I could hit a fastball, and I knew what he threw. He didn't recognize me. He forgot I played against him fucking when I was young. Fast times at Weber High. And so you go up there, and I knew he'd go inside on me. Everybody did. I knew. I stepped back away, and he'd do inside outside, just like fucking Eckersley. Everybody knew that Eckersley would go inside outside, throw that low curve ball. Gibson just stuck out the back. This guy was so predictable. I knew it. He's going to throw me a fucking hard fastball on the outer part of the plate, which is my favorite pitch. Fuck, I jacked that fucker so fucking far. And he's like, oh, I got pay up, motherfucker. And so it's so cool they did this. Here's some of the old fans coming along here. And so that's how the Raptors got here. So the Raptors have been here for 30 years. How's it going? And so they come here, and the city orchestrates it, works it up. And so John Lindquist, who is a Brownie, John Lindquist is the Brownie there. There's Frank. And so the Lindquists, they pop up a lot of money for this. They get involved. The Eccles get involved. Everybody gets in. There's a fight on the Matt Brownie's build. That's why the field curves like that. They wouldn't give it up. And his heirs, because he died in 87. So the stadium, the Raptors are playing out there at Clarence Simmons Field, which is a great field on the river down there. It's fucking beautiful down there at Fort Beneventura. It's been, by the way, it's 200 years right now that I've been having this conversation with everybody that the fur traders got here. Jim Bridger arrived here 200 years ago right now, which is the biggest event in the history of Ogden. Bar none. Bar none. He lived here. The movie Revenant's fucking based right there 200 years. Don't you think Ogden do a big thing? I talked to the mayor. The mayor's, of course, he's not from here. And the new mayor, Ben, and he says, I didn't even know why we didn't do nothing. He says, you didn't know? You're the mayor of Ogden? I says, I'm a butcher. What's a cow? I'm a baker. What's a cake? Anyway, so the Raptors, this stadium opens in 97, I believe. Fucking packed. It's Brewers affiliation. The whole town is stoked and fired up. And this town's still kicking. Come in, fucking sold out. And everybody's like, it turned out so beautiful. The vista in this park is the most beautiful fucking vista in sports barn in the world. Bar fucking none. Looks up at the mighty Mount Ogden, the mighty Ben Lomond, and a lot of work went into that. A lot of incredible planning. Fuck. Can you imagine what it costs to tear down a city block to build a baseball park? Well, go ask that fucking BYU rat who's fucking hijacked the Jazz. Fucking billions. Everybody wants one. We have one. Why don't we have affiliated baseball here? Fucking good question. So, they're the Brewers. Backed out. Prince Fielder played here. Fucking Shields played here. Fucking great baseball. It's back. We're fired up, stoked. Then they switch affiliation, and everybody's really happy and fired up. We get the Dodgers back. So everybody's had Lasorda came and opened up the thing and fucking fired up. And it's, single A, it's rookie ball, but we don't care. It's professional baseball. These young, incredible athletes have to come through here. Kenley Jensen, who is the catcher? Corey Seager. Cody Bellinger. I got some great stories about Cody Bellinger when he played around. He separated his shoulder. Fuck. Hall of Famers. You're talking Hall of Famers. Seager and fucking Bellinger are Hall of Famers. Jock Peterson, D. Gordon. I mean, what a fucking run. The Dodgers, because the Dodgers have always... By the way, did you see Roll Mondesi? Fuck, what a player. I always thought he'd be great in NFL. You see, he got arrested for corruption in Mexico. He was the mayor, ripping him off. Remember when they went on that great run of Rookies of the Year and couldn't win? Fuck it. Well, it's the same old thing with the Dodgers. You know, baseball metaphors matter. Baseball mirrors culture. Culture mirrors baseball. It's unarguable. Ask Ken Burns. I call it the bottom of the 13th now. The rich get richer and richer since fucking 1980, really since 2000. The Dodgers try to buy pennants, try to buy pennants, try to buy pennants. The greatest choke artist in fucking history of fucking sport, the Dodgers. I mean, all their money, they still can't win. You know, he's going for the 40-40. What a fucking player, but we'll see. So, the Raptors, 30 years. So, 2 years ago, as you know, the violation of labor laws with baseball finally shit the fan. These guys suing. It's multi-hundreds of billions of dollar lawsuit. And baseball's been exploiting minor league players for 100 years, just ripping them off. These guys stay with host families. They make $200, $300, $400 a week, if that. Just exploited. Well, the major class action lawsuit against Major League Baseball. Giant fucking hundreds of billions. They're going to lose. Congress steps in because it's going to take them to their fucking knees. It's hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're going to lose. So, baseball says, okay. Congress sets in and sets a league minimum. The league minimum for a minor league baseball now, I believe, is $45,000 a year. So, the Dodgers, well, different rookie leagues like this league, well, they'll stand. We got such a connection here, and we always have great, you got a giant fan base. It's a baseball town from hell. They'll never pull the fucking Raptors affiliation, the Dodgers. Pioneer League will stay. Well, they pulled it. The Pioneer League goes. It's over. This was affiliated baseball all the way through. So 2 years, it's not affiliated baseball anymore. It's over. So they didn't have to play the minimum. So Congress puts in these different stipulations, whatever, and I'm like, it's over. It's fucking over. So the brand of baseball here is off a cliff. Pioneer League baseball, it's 26, 27, 28-year-olds who've played college bad and they've had their chance. You're never going to see a player in the Pioneer League, well, you might, miracle, get called up anymore. Them days are over. They're not affiliated. They're non-affiliated. So this feeding of these great young talent by the major leagues, and the major leagues infusing money and fucking doing it, it's over. So the brand of baseball, it's pitiful, to be honest with you. You know, and I'll always come to these games because the stadium is that fucking beautiful and that grand. America's great pastime. But the baseball is pitiful. I mean, and there's not enough pitchers. And these kids, they're not kids. These grown men that are still playing, holding on to the romance, they've seen a lot of pitches. So there's a lot of great hitters in this league. So it's like going to 4th Street Park and watching fucking, remember on Sundays we had the keg leagues over there. That's what we'd be doing on Sunday mornings. You know, leftover kegs, everybody, boys, girls, men, women, young, old, black, white, brown, fucking, and we drank and fucking, I mean, softball was king here. Ask Larry Miller, the fastball fucking pitching king. Yeah, that guy. Fuck, was that fucker good. So, the irony of this, the Gunners, named Lindquist Field, the Lindquist family are Brownies. So, and I like John a lot. And anyway, you know, we had our problems when, you know, I own Blanch Class, and I can get into that, but I don't hold grudges. I'll through it. And so, Baggett, of course, who owns it? Dave, he's from Los Angeles, and that whole clan, whatever. So, there's styrofoam dinosaur up there. Don't even get me going, because I was supposed to plash those back in the city. I mean, but it's a grand park. It's incredible. It's an urban fucking masterpiece. And this city needs a shot in the arm. Put soccer in here in part of the year. You know, Ogden City, you can do it. You can play baseball and soccer here. Ogden Stadium, put fucking soccer in. I'm going to send this to Ben. You know, Ben played football at Weaver State. When I was the professor, the student professor, there's when he was going there, so I know him. And I like him, by the way. He played defensive end. He threw out a first pitch here. So, let me show you this. This park is fucking grand. And I mean grand. We have a bar right there with a liquor license. cool ass fuck overpriced fucking booze and beer, but we need to lower the prices, but we can do that. You know, all we got to do is the city needs to hook up with these brewers. Utah's right there. Say, hey, let's sponsor your beer inside. By the way, we got rain for the first time here all fucking summer, and I mean it fucking rained. He's out there. He's been doing the groundkeeping over here, out here. Fuck, he's 90-something years old. He's been around, Kenny. So he's a piece of work. So this park is grand, and I mean grand. So I've been really on Ogden City, and I wanted to put those banners right there. I'm the guy that's responsible for that, putting the bug